I can't believe you committed suicide. I cannot believe you committed suicide. How could you have done this? How could you have committed suicide?
Hi, I'm Ian Alley Seals, host of A Dangerous Podcast. Join me every week as my fearless co-host compatriots and I dig into and review some of the worst movies ever made. That's right. Tune in, strap yourself down, and prepare yourself, because this is a dangerous podcast.
You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
Hi there, I'm Lloyd.
And I'm John, and we're from Pint Comics. As we dive into your favorite pop culture topics, we may just
Occasionally
use language that could be considered
globaloney.
what? No, I mean,
Oh, foul.
exactly. Offensive.
No doubt. Crass.
You bet your ass.
Sophisticated.
What? No. Anyways, you get it by now. It's mostly just
Gutter talk.
And one more thing. Watch out for spoilers. Sometimes we drop them like trousers. You've been warned.
Listen in.
All right, back at you again, Pint of Comics, the manster on that side.
Right here.
He's right there. I'm John on this side right here. Together, we are the Pint of Comics guys. Hey, look, it's them Pint of Comics guys.
POC.
It's the POC. So, 2020...
And it's just the two of us.
It is just the two of
us.
Building castles in the sky.
Reunited and it feels so good.
In that situation, would you be Peaches and I'd be Herb? Or would I be Herb and you'd be Peaches? Or did I just say the same thing backwards? I might have just said the same thing
I guess
backwards.
I'm Peaches.
All right. Yeah. Are you the Peaches, though, with that song, Fuck the Pain Away? Do you know that one?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, that's a good song. Actually.
That is a good song. It's so stark, you know? Fuck the pain away. Wow. All right. you go, girl. All right. So 2020, at this point, you're listening to this. This should be the last week of January of 2021. This episode comes out. This will be episode 173. So we're getting close to 200, but 2020 has been over for about 3 weeks now. And a lot of podcasts out there, you've heard their best of and all that stuff, worst of, whatever. We have not gotten around to it yet. We are only going to do a best of movies episode. Each of us, 5 movies that we saw in 2020 that came out in 2020 that we thought were exemplary. Now we do have to, I feel like I have to put that caveat out there, even though you all know it. COVID 2020 was not a great year for a lot of stuff coming out. There's a lot of things that probably would have been on these lists that, if they were as good as I hope, that can't be because they're not out yet. Like I would love to say the new Bond would be on this list. If that isn't coming out now, they just announced till October of this year. A year and a half after its original release date, they're pushing that thing back. Wow. The Candyman remake looked awesome. That was supposed to be out in June of last year. That won't be out until some point this year. So there's certain movies that might have jumped on here. So
do you recall what movies you saw in the theater in 2020?
I saw 3 films in the movie theater in 2020. 3. One first run film. January 1st of 2020, I went and saw The Rise of Skywalker with my wife. About a month later.
When did that come out?
In December of 19.
Okay.
I had not gotten out to see it yet. And then about a month later, we had the last of Larry's Connecticut Cult Classics, and I saw Night of the Creeps and Reanimator. The only 3 movies I saw in theaters last year. You?
Well, with you, I saw Night of the Creeps and Reanimator. I don't recall when I saw Star Wars exactly. I don't remember if I saw it in January or December. But the other movie I saw in the theater, you're going to love it.
The Shining.
Brahms, The Boy 2.
Oh, you went and saw that thing?
Well, my daughter wanted to go see it, so I brought her.
Yeah. You did.
That was the highlight.
Yeah, that thing didn't look very good. That thing did not look very good. No. Not to mention when it came out and they said Brahms, The Boy 2. I didn't know there was a Boy 1.
Yeah, I had to ask her what was The Boy. She explained it to me. I'm like, oh, okay. So then I watched that just to kind of get caught up with the story. It's like, all right.
You didn't want to be lost during Brahms.
Right,
I understand. No, that's rough. You never want to be lost during Brahms. So the 2020 COVID, all that is going to affect these lists a little bit, I think. Definitely have 5 that I think were the best that I saw last year. But I can preface it by saying, before you hear some of my choices, or not just you, anybody listening, I wasn't that good. These are 5 of the best that I saw in the year of 2020, because there wasn't a ton. And there was a couple. I'm going to give a couple at the end of ones I was disappointed in real quick. I'll give a couple that I was disappointed in that were not on my list. Okay, so we're going to do 5 each. Let's just jump right into it, Manster. Why don't you, and again, with us, I don't care 2 through 5. You could do whatever order you want. Whatever you think was your best, leave it at number 1.
I gotcha.
All right, so hit us with number 5. What was your number 5 movie?
So like John said, keep in mind, I didn't see a lot of movies. Everything I saw obviously was on streaming platforms, and I tended to watch a lot of more horror or thriller type movies.
Right.
All right. So my number 1 is a movie called Alone on Hulu. So basically it's a familiar setup. There's a girl, Jessica, a recent widow.
Is she hot?
She's hot. Sure.
Okay.
She's
all right.
hot enough. She's on a road trip. She's packing up all her shit in a trailer, and she's driving, Pacific Northwest, something like that. She's driving north. She comes across a guy on the road, another driver, and their first encounter is very unfortunate. I won't get into it. She makes a mistake. She's trying to pass him. Things happen. There's almost an accident, but they get beyond that. So she continues her way. He continues his way. They run into each other again at a gas station, and then again somewhere else. So it's a familiar setup, but it's really the execution of this. And once all this goes down, then there's a cat and mouse. The guy's a scumbag. He's trying to kill her, and she just wants him to leave her alone. But it's really the execution that makes this work for me. The woman, she makes like real life choices. Not like stupid movie choices that you expect.
She makes choices based on seeing those movies and not doing the same shit.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So like there's one scene, it was the first time where they actually met face to face. He knocks on her window. She looks over. He's like, "Hi, I just wanted to say, do you know who I am?" And she's like, "No, well, I'm the guy from the little minor incident we had." It's like, "I just want to tell you, I'm really sorry the way that went down. I was looking at my phone and I got, distracted, and I felt I needed to speed up, and I didn't mean to cause you distress or whatever." And so, all right, leave it at that. Okay, thanks. Bye. And then she sees him broken down on the road a few minutes later, like ahead of him somewhere. And he's got his arm in a sling, and he's like, "I just need some help pushing my car off the side of the road. Would you get out and help me?" Right. And this is the point where you usually see the woman get out or do something, and she's very apprehensive, and she's like, "No, really can't do that." And
this is the point in Silence of the Lambs where the victim gets in the van on the inside of the van, to lift in the I get what you're saying.
So in other words, this woman is making smart decisions, but they don't work out for her eventually. Is
there any name actress or actor in this thing, or is this kind of...
There's 3 actors in this movie.
Okay.
There might be a couple ancillary characters. Jules Wilcox is the girl, Jessica. Mark Menchaca is the man. He's vaguely familiar to me. He's like a reddish hair, mustache, sort of goatee. And then Anthony Heald as another character further on.
Oh, well, speaking of Silence of the Lambs, Anthony Heald.
Right.
Okay.
And let me just say, it's a surprising turn for Anthony Heald in this movie.
Okay. All right.
It's great. It's just a chase. And when it finally comes down to their final encounter, their confrontation, there's a fight. It's exactly what you want it to be. I can't say enough. I mean, I really enjoyed this movie. It's called Alone, and you can stream it on Hulu.
All right. So your number 5 is Alone. My number 5 is the polar opposite of what that sounds like. That sounds like a pretty good thriller. I'm going with a comedy for my number 5, and I'm going with a movie that the first movie came out about 15 years ago, and I enjoyed it. I saw it once. It's a very gimmicky movie, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the star of the movie. I think he's a pretty funny guy. I think he has balls of steel. When I found out this one was coming out, I thought, going back to the well probably won't work many years later. The State of America, where we're at now, is perfect for the return of Borat. This is Borat subsequent movie film. This streamed on Amazon for free. I think in October. I watched it with my wife, and I expected nothing of it. I like Sacha Baron Cohen. I think he's a really funny guy. I think the stuff he does, he transcends boundaries with his characters. There is that line of how, in the original Borat, because nobody knew who he was, there was a lot of the humor derived from the fact that like he was kind of infiltrating real situations,
it's real life scenarios, right?
Real scenarios, but there's some scripting to it. This is very similar, but you have to wonder how much more scripting there had to be, because let's be honest, who doesn't know who Borat is at this point? You know what I mean? Like with one movie and some appearances on the TV show, I think the Ali G show, Borat has become, even though the movie came out in 2006, he's it's nice. I mean, he has literally pervaded American culture. So everybody's aware of Borat, but they write a story that picks up from the end of the last one. He spent 14 years in a gulag in his home country, cracking rocks because of the embarrassment he brought upon his country from the first movie. And he's given an assignment. His assignment is to go to America. There's a whole bunch behind that, but he's going to go to America again. And that's how he's going to fix what he did in the first movie. When you get to the end of the movie and you find out what his assignment was and what it entailed, and how it ties into real world 2020 events, which include coronavirus, which include the Donald Trump presidency. Wow. It's pretty fucking brilliant. There's a girl in the film named, her real name is Maria Bakalova, and she played his daughter Tutar. A lot of the humor is focused around her, and she's great. I had a great time with it. I'll give Larry a shout out, Scary Larry. I was not going to watch this because I thought, they're not going to recapture, lightning in a bottle. And I did like Borat. I just never watched it again. And Larry one night messaged me and said, the new Borat is fucking spot on. And I trust Larry's opinion. And I went, you know what? Okay, I'm going to check it out. So my wife and me, my wife, we watched it the next night, and truly it's really funny. Just a good example of a funny comedy. And I really enjoyed it. So yeah, Borat subsequent movie film. I think it's still streaming on Amazon Prime. If you have it, I totally suggest it.
Let me ask. I have never seen Borat. I've never really seen Sacha Baron Cohen in much of anything. I didn't watch the Ali G. Not that I haven't seen it. I've seen pieces. I've seen bits. I've seen skits of him. But is it something you would recommend me to check out, even not having seen Borat?
Yeah, if you watch Borat and you get halfway through it and you don't laugh or you don't find it funny, you're not going to find it funny. Shut it off.
Yeah.
If you find it funny, it's, it was 2005, 2006 was the dawn of that. Like, when The Office came out here in America, the Michael Scott Office with Steve Carell. It was the American version. It was the dawn of what a lot of people call cringeworthy humor.
Sure.
Curb Your Enthusiasm. When you're watching someone do something and you can't look away and you want to stop them, that's what Borat is. Borat is Sacha Baron Cohen going into these situations full bore ahead and like just saying the wrong thing to the wrong people. And you're literally you're putting your hand to your face going, holy fuck, no way. He's not going to do that. And he does it. But yeah, I think a combination of some of the script writing and some of the actual scenarios that they put him into in this one are just hilarious. There's a scene in the first movie where him and he has a friend in the first movie who's like his partner, this big fat hairy guy. And there's a scene where they run through a hotel, which was unscripted, naked, and get into like a greased up wrestling match in front of a bunch of people.
I think I've seen that.
It's if you've never seen it before, it's hilarious. 15 years later, it's passé, it's happened. But if you see it for the first time, you're literally like, holy shit, because you're not only watching these two guys grease wrestle on the ground, but you're watching the reaction of the people who don't know what the fuck is happening and don't know this is a movie. I don't know. So Borat subsequent movie film, check it out. Number 4, Lloyd, what do you got?
Number 4. Another Hulu movie. You can stream it on Hulu. It's called Sputnik.
I've been wanting to watch this.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you any of the cast because I couldn't even pronounce their names. It's a Russian film. It's got cosmonauts, scientists, and a wondrously grotesque symbiotic alien that feeds on something that only humans can adequately provide.
Is it sperm? Is it semen?
No, I think other animals can provide that.
Well, but is it human semen? Only we can provide that. Okay.
Nope. It's basically it's a certain hormone.
Okay.
Released
all right.
by humans. It's dreadfully intense and scary. the design of this creature, you haven't seen any pictures or anything?
No.
I don't want to give too much away, but when I say symbiotic, that means it merges it needs a human host, but they're not just host and parasite. They need each other. So they separate at certain times, and the separation is really grotesque the first time you see it. And when the thing just starts crawling and forming, it first looks like a long larva, a slug, like a big giant eel, but then the elbows start coming out and it starts reaching and going like this, and it's got this fucking hooded head and teeth that stick out but no bottom jaw. It's so good when you realize what they're doing, how they're feeding this creature, how ethical it is. The scientist doesn't really want to be involved anymore, and then she gets into a relationship with the person who's symbiotic with it. Totally recommend it. Great film. Some of the best films of this year, I think, that I've seen are foreign films, and this is one of them.
Okay. All right. Sputnik. All right. I wanted to see that too. I think, as a matter of fact, I think I've almost thrown it on a few nights, and I think it was like 2 hours long. And I got like a rule that I got a rule, like after 9 o'clock, if it's not an hour and 20 minutes or hour and a half, I don't start it. So I think that's why I didn't, but I will watch that because I've wanted to see that. All right. My number 4 is a little bit bigger than that. It was the third and most likely final in the Bill and Ted trilogy. It was Bill and Ted Face the Music. This came out streaming in the end of August. Obviously, this is a sequel in the 30 years in the making. Bogus Journey, the last movie, came out in 1991, and here we are in 2020. 29 years later.
Bogus Journey, that was that shitty movie.
Oh, you're such an idiot. But anyways, so I love Excellent Adventure. I was 13 when it came out. I love Bogus Journey, and I had no solid expectations. Despite Keanu Reeves' sudden career resurgence since John Wick, I had no expectations for this to be good. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it is the best of the Bill and Ted movies, because it's not. But what I will tell you is it did something in a year that was marked by so much negative energy, right? COVID and fucking, and all the bullshit, the bullshit police stuff. And all the garbage that this world has gone through, the big Cheeto, all that stuff, right, was just like a barrel of shit. And Bill and Ted Face the Music is this sweet, like, kind of friend and family story that sets out to tell of just a very fun adventure story, right? These two guys, they're at the end of their rope in terms of what they were supposed to have done with their lives. They were told many years ago, you were going to save the fucking world. And they never did. And one of the best things about it is that they have a couple kids, 2 young daughters. I was worried before I saw the movie that what they were going to do is they were going to have Bill and Ted play second fiddle to the daughters. And I could see the daughters having their own movies eventually, but they didn't do that. The daughters have their own little adventure in the movie, but it doesn't overshadow Bill and Ted. It was just a fucking feel-good movie. I watched it. I felt like I reconnected with some old friends. It ties off. It ties everything off at the end, whether that's a spoiler or not, in a nice, neat bow. And I think you get a pretty good trilogy of films. So Bill and Ted Face the Music, just a fun, great time. Alex Winter, Keanu Reeves, 30 years later doing it again.
How do they come across as 50-plus-year-old men?
Good. Obviously Keanu Reeves, we're used to seeing him, right? Because, he's been around since, 1991.
He never went away.
Alex Winter does a lot of stuff behind the scenes. He actually has a documentary about Frank Zappa that he's been working on the last couple of years that I think is out now, that he put a lot of time and effort into. He's done stuff behind the scenes as well. He looks fucking great. For a guy probably in his like mid 50s, he looks great. And, and it's just, have you seen it yet or no?
No, I haven't.
Watch it. I know you didn't like the second
first
one.
Bill and Ted, and I did not like the second, so I'm hesitant.
Just watch it. It's an hour and a half. And again, even if you don't like it at the end, I don't think that you could deny that it felt good. All right, what's your number 3?
My number 3. All right, this is the first of my horror movies. All the rest of them are horror. This one was on Shudder. Crazy ass movie. It's called Anything for Jackson.
Well, you mentioned this to me, yeah.
Did I? Yeah. I mean, I didn't know by the title really what to expect. It's it could be anything, anything for Jackson. This might be a love story. I don't know. Well, it is kind of a love story. a love between an elderly couple and Satan.
It's a three-way with Satan.
Imagine, do you recall Rosemary's Baby?
Yes.
Now, do you remember their neighbors, the friendly older neighbor couple who ended up being Satanists?
Yes. Yeah.
Imagine that couple had their own movie, and then they took cues from The Exorcist and some other modern demon movies that I can't remember. I don't know, Insidious or some other crazy shit like that. And then they made their own movie. That's what this thing is. The old guy, first of all, this movie starts with such a creepy tone for me anyway. You're familiar with the song On a Bicycle Built for Two?
Yes. Yep.
Daisy, Daisy.
Yep.
Yeah. It starts with this music playing. What sounds like it's in a Victrola. I mean, you don't actually see it, but sounds like it's in a Victrola. There's an old person's house. There's a woman and then an older skinny guy.
Whenever a song is playing in a movie on like a record player in an old person's house, immediately there's something going to happen. Something is going to happen. It's terrifying.
And it's going to happen right away.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So that's what happens here. They start saying, "Oh, she's early. She's coming. She's early. She's here." And then they both disappear outside. And then they come back dragging this woman in. The man is dragging her in and holds on to her like near the entrance. And the woman grabs a candlestick and just starts bashing her in the face. Then they drag her upstairs. Come to find out, the man is a doctor. The girl that they just dragged in is a pregnant woman that's his patient that they have decided to do a reverse exorcism because they recently lost their grandson, whose name was Jackson, and they plan on putting his spirit inside her unborn child.
Oh, Jesus.
There's meetings where they're with, other Satanists and they're doing chants and they have a fucking like Necronomicon type book. And so they go to do their procedure and the woman's reading from the book and crazy shit's happening. After she does the reading, they start seeing ghosts in the house. You start seeing such weird shit happening. And it's like they're haunted, but they haven't really finished the process. And they end up getting one of the guys, the Satanist guys from their group, and he comes in and helps them. All kinds of shit happens. It's crazy. This movie goes 100% for the jugular and fucking just rips it right out.
All right, what was
That's
this called
what I got
again?
to say about this.
Anything for Jackson?
Anything for Jackson.
All right, I'm checking this out. I've got Shudder. We've talked about this before. Not a sponsor, by the way. But if you don't have if you love horror movies and you don't have Shudder, you're fucking up. All right. You're leaving it on the porch, as they say. You've got a lot of options there that you're not getting to. All right. So speaking of Shudder, that was your number 3, correct?
Number 3.
My number 3 is also a Shudder. It's a Shudder original. This movie pushes the boundaries of the word movie because of its runtime. All right. It's like 57 minutes long. So some people might say that's more of a show.
And that's what I love.
And this has been released as a movie. It's a feature film. It is a Shudder original. It is from the UK and it is called Host. This thing came out in the summertime, I think, or maybe late summer of this year is when I watched it. And I've been wanting to watch it again, right? I've been wanting to revisit this because this movie legitimately scared the fuck out of me in different bits and pieces. This movie is a movie, again, kind of like I said a second ago about how Bill and Ted was the antithesis of 2020, how it was a fun movie. It's not about COVID. It's not about, all 3 of the movies I've talked about so far. Borat was also informed by 2020. This was informed by 2020 as well, because this movie is set during 2020. It's set during COVID. It's set in a time like right now, like me and you are doing, whereas opposed to a year ago when we would be sitting in the same room recording. For a whole year now, we've been recording on Zoom, not together. We're in a box and on a TV screen. All right. Host is about a group of girls and one guy who decide to get together, along with one of them knows I guess you can call a pair up. I don't know, what would you call that? Like someone that knows about seances, somebody a medium. Thank you.
They have weekly Zoom meetings, right? Isn't that they typically all chat
I think they chat, play games, but they decided to do something different this time.
Yeah, let's do a seance.
I know a medium. Let's bring the medium in and we're going to do a seance. And this movie is presented exactly as you could imagine if you know anything about a Zoom meeting. It is presented as a Zoom meeting on the screen. So you're watching the boxes open up. You're watching the different girls. Oh, by the way, like 5 cute girls. They're
Oh,
all these actresses are all unknowns. They're all very beautiful. They all pop up on the screen. You got the guy pops up on the screen. You learn from their chatting, cross chatting between each other. When one girl drops out, you get little tidbits of information about this girl, gossip. The guy has got this new girlfriend that's got him basically pussy whipped to death. And you learn about these girls. So you in this movie in 57 minutes does more than most movies, not most, but a lot of movies get done in 2 fucking hours. You know these characters, you know they're kind of like like what makes them tick, you know some of their weaknesses, you know why some of them don't like each other over certain things, or maybe like, you know, nitpicking about friendly stuff. And essentially shit goes wrong. They do a seance and shit goes wrong. And the practical effects of this thing are all done pretty much in camera.
Yeah. It's all directed right through Zoom.
Yeah. It's the whole thing is done through Zoom.
Everybody who's in their own square takes care of their own effects.
Right. So if there is a scene where one of the characters has to get up to investigate a noise, she does what we would do right now, picks up her laptop and walks through the house. And then when something happens, it's total insanity. It's total insanity. I don't want to get much further than that because that would, you know, it's a short movie, but as you can imagine, shit starts to happen and it becomes very real, very quick. Yeah. And it's one of these movies that like the last like 7 or 8 minutes, boom, 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 boom. Just a lot of stuff happens.
Back in, I don't know, October or September. And I gotta watch it again. Such a quick one. I can just get in and out.
Yeah, this is a fantastic movie. So if you don't have Shudder, I don't know if it's available on Blu-ray yet or anything like that. Hopefully it will be because I'll buy this thing in a second. I really enjoyed it, but it is called Host. It's directed by a guy named Rob Savage. Keep an ear out for that. This is his first film, and I could definitely see him doing something more because I really enjoyed this. All right, Manster, what do you have for your what do you got, your number 2?
Yeah, number 2. See, my number 1 and number 2 are interchangeable, and today I'm going to pick this one.
All right.
Number 2, another Shudder movie, Color Out of Space.
I still have not seen that yet.
I know it came out in 2020. I don't know I think it came out in the theaters and then released on Shudder later in the year. I'm not sure if that's 100% accurate, but I saw it on Shudder. Features Nicolas Cage, Joel E. Richardson as a husband and wife, Nathan Gardner and Teresa Gardner. And then they've got 3 children, Madeline Arthur as Lavinia, Brendan Meyer as Benny, and Julian Hillard. Julian Hillard as Jack. And then there's another character. He is a young guy who makes friends with the teenage daughter, Elliot Knight, as Ward Phillips. And then finally, Tommy Chong.
Oh, is Tommy Chong in this?
Yeah, Tommy Chong as a neighbor hippie guy. He lives not really a neighbor. He lives on their land. He's like a squatter. But yeah, his name's Ezra. Yeah, it's a H.P. Lovecraft story. If people don't know that, most people probably know. And literally, I mean, you can literally interpret the title. A color comes from outer space and it invades things. So it arrives in a meteor and nothing really, nobody really knows what's happening yet, but it has this really profound effect on people, like a collaborative effect. And by collaborative, I mean shunty sort of effect.
Oh, the shunting? Are they going to shunt?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's shunting in this movie and it just drives people crazy. It just drives Nicolas Cage and his whole family bonkers. Nicolas Cage, you get to see him be the best Nicolas Cage since Vampire's Kiss. I mean, I know you've never seen Vampire's Kiss, but in my opinion, that was like his best role. And this is like second only to that.
Okay.
And I would highly recommend this. If I were to do this again tomorrow, this might be my number 1.
All right. Yeah. This was directed by, what's his name?
I don't think I wrote it down. I forgot.
He directed, Richard, Stanley. He directed, a movie in the early 90s called, Hardware, which was very cool. Mm-hmm. And then he's famous he directed the Island of Dr. Moreau in 96 and got fired from it. And he's famous for, he went back and like made himself up. He like lived on the set somehow. I don't know the whole story. I know that there is a pretty famous documentary about it. And I know Larry has mentioned we should watch that as well. But this is the first movie he's made since then.
Wow.
That movie, he got fired from that thing. And that thing had such a profound effect on him. This guy didn't do another fucking movie for 25 years. So it's kind of cool that he came back with a movie that, while maybe not being a huge name, this movie, I've only heard good things about this movie.
Just Nicolas Cage going into madness is just such a thing to watch. And there's colors, there's beautiful colors, crazy flowers and shit growing around it. And there's a scene, I don't want to give too much away, but there's a scene where he goes out into the stables. They have fake llamas, or no, they have alpacas, and they are fused. And so he takes care of that situation, and then the mother and the son come out, and shit just goes really bad from there.
All right, I'm going to check this out. I've been wanting to watch it for a while anyway, and I have Shudder. So again, get Shudder, not a sponsor.
Check it out. It's only a couple hours.
All right, I will definitely check that out. All right, my number 2. This is going to be controversial because people hate this movie. I watched this movie in the summertime, rented it, I think on Amazon, rented it for $5 or whatever. And I actually love this movie. Underwater, it's called. Okay, this is
Underwater.
Starring.
See, I have avoided watching this because of who's in it.
Kristen Stewart, right off the bat, I'm not a fan either. All right. I think she's very monotone. I think that she just kind of, I don't know, she doesn't do it for me. All right. In terms of as an actress. That being said, I love the subgenre of underwater monster movies. Okay. I always have. Mm-hmm. I love fucking Leviathan. Deep Rising. I love Deep Star 6, right? Deep Star 6 is a terrible fucking movie. I own the Blu-ray and I enjoy it. The Abyss, obviously, is a big one. I love stuff like that. Humanoids from the Deep, as crappy of a movie as that is, I have a good time with it. All right. So this is, one that has come out, and these things don't come out as much anymore. It's not 1989. 1989, by the way, Deep Star 6, Leviathan, and The Abyss all came out in the same year. And I think Humanoids from the Deep, too. That was a big year for this genre of movie. So rent the movie, watch it with my wife. Okay. And I got to be honest with you, it starts off at the very beginning. It does something I love in movies. We've talked about this on the show before. Evil Dead 2. 5 minutes in, shit is happening.
Yeah.
Underwater, 5 minutes in, shit is happening. There's not a whole lot of setup. Okay. They're in an underwater research station, whatever they research, I don't remember. And all of a sudden the walls start to cave in. The place is starting to implode. And it becomes, you follow the Kristen Stewart character. She's like an engineer or something, as she tries to escape this fucking base that's underwater, fucking 2 miles, whatever it is. There's a lot of cool claustrophobic scenes. I'm a claustrophobic dude. Like The Descent is a favorite movie of mine because it makes it makes me feel like fucking weird because it makes me breathe hard. There's some stuff like that in this, not as good, but some stuff like that. And then it ties into some pretty cool at the very end. When you get to the very end of the movie, the last 15 minutes, and you kind of find out what has been causing everything to happen. All I'll say without spoiling it is it ties into some severely cool mythology. All right.
Oh, cool. I just checked. It's on HBO Max.
Watch it. Yep. I don't think, and now people do not like this movie. I wonder if maybe going to see it in the theater, it just didn't present itself well on the small screen. I really enjoyed this. It's my number 2 movie of the year. Would it be in my top 5 in another year if I saw more current movies? It might not be, but I will tell you this, even if it wasn't in my top 5, even if it's only here because of a lack of other movies, I'd still buy this movie on Blu-ray. I'd still watch it again. I really enjoyed it. People shit on this one, and this is one of those ones.
You are a sucker for the underwater monster stuff.
I love that stuff. And I don't want to jump too far ahead, but there's a couple movies on my real quick disappointment list that I've heard a lot of people love. So, again, I don't want to say I take pride in it. I'm not a contrarian, but maybe I just see things differently than some people in certain ways. That's my number 2. So what's your number 1, Lloyd? What is the film in 2020 that knocked your socks off the most?
Well, let me tell you, I just watched this again today just to reassure that it was my number 1. And I think we might have a consensus here, because if you didn't pick this, then I'd be surprised and I would be disappointed. It's called His House. You can watch it on Netflix.
Let's make it easy. It's my number 1 too.
Is it?
It is my number 1. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, His House. Holy shit. Right?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's an unexpected gem. This thing is.
Again, going back to Larry for a second, I had started to hear scuttlebutt back in October about this movie. His House is a great horror movie. His House. I messaged Larry, and Larry knows everything about horror. But I messaged Larry and I said, do you know about this His House? And he goes, I haven't heard of it. So then a day later, he messaged me back and goes, His House is fucking incredible. You got to watch it. So he hadn't heard of it. I tipped him off on that one. He would have heard of it eventually anyway, but then he watched it before me. So this rolled right into a 3-day period that I had to have a COVID test, and I was stuck watching a ton of movies. So I watched it during the day one day. This is a fucking great movie.
You know, what works so well about this movie is it's a great horror film.
Yep.
There's some great horror images and some really freaky, creepy shit that happens. There's people in walls. I think I tweeted today. It might have, if you saw it, it might have been a little clue. I said, what did I say in my tweet? When I pull an electrical cord in the walls of my house, I usually stop when the lights go out. Not after 100 feet of slime and seaweed covered poltergeist rope.
Yeah. Starts to come out of the wall.
There's some shit that's just insane in this movie. And so not only is it that, but it's just a haunting recollection of people facing their demons and things that they've done.
I'll tell you, like you just said. So this movie, the plot of this movie, without getting too spoilery, Sudanese couple. Okay, and I don't have the actors' names right with me. I'll look them up, or maybe you can look them up. Okay, yeah, who are they? What are the names?
The husband is Bol, and his name is Sope Derisu, and the wife is Rial, and her name is Wunmi Mosaku.
These two are fucking fantastic. I hope they are in a ton of other things because they're both great. So they play a married couple who are refugees from Sudan. The movie begins with them basically escaping war-torn Sudan and getting brought to the United Kingdom, where they're brought, they're processed, they're staying in a halfway house, and they're told essentially that you could become refugees. We're going to put you up in a house. You have to take care of it. You have to get a job. You have to do all the things a citizen would do.
Yep.
And if you do all these things, you could stay, right? So that's the basic plot of the movie. The only named actor you'd recognize in this whole thing is Matt Smith from Doctor Who, the 11th Doctor, plays like their caseworker. Okay. Yep. And he's very good in it. He plays a very sympathetic character.
He is very sympathetic
because these characters deserve sympathy. You're also under the impression they lost their daughter on the trip over. That's all I'll say about that.
Right. Because they have dreams and stuff. Because you never see the beginning. You never see the daughter. You just see the daughter in dreams.
Right.
In visions, apparently.
So you spend the whole movie watching this couple kind of grow apart. You start seeing weird shit happening. I mean, this is a ghost story. And you don't know the why. And when they hit you with the why, and like Lloyd said, people facing their demons, when they hit you with the scene as to why, when you realize what's going on and why it's happening, it's heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking it. Like, honestly, it took my breath away because you feel a certain way about characters in a movie. And then you learn something and you suddenly go, holy shit, I might see things differently. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm going to lay out there for you. I know Larry had it on his top 20 of 20 list. I know Andrew from the Nomcast was a big fan of it. I did an episode recently of the Mobile Horror Companion, and we talked a little bit about things we liked in 2020. And that was the movie I put out there.
Oh yeah.
It was His House. I just said, if you guys haven't seen it, watch it. So I'm going to say that right now. I'm along with you. Number one, His House.
And I would also say, watch it twice. Give yourself a little break. Watch it again, and it'll hit you even harder.
Yeah. Yeah, I have not seen it a second time yet because it's an emotional movie, and it doesn't have a bow at the end, it doesn't have necessarily a bow at the end, it's got a satisfying ending. It doesn't slide into home plate in terms of the situation's all cleared up. There's questions that hover over it. There's things that make you go, I wonder what's going to happen now. I totally recommend it. I totally. I'm glad you picked it as number one. The further we got along, I was wondering if it was going to be on your list. And the further we got along, I'm like, wow, he must have not liked it. And then when I did read your tweet today, and I thought, is he being snarky about this movie? And I'm like, okay, I'm going to wait. I'm not going to respond to his tweet because I want to argue with him if he says he didn't like it, but I'm glad you picked it. You had a couple honorable mentions. Give us the honorable mentions. I don't really have.
Yeah. So a lot of these fell in my 3 through 7 category. So
okay.
Picking between the first few of these was hard. So runners up, Host. So that was one that I had to drop out. A movie called The Deeper You Dig, which is made by a couple called the Addams Family. It's a husband and wife and a daughter team. They did the whole entire movie themselves. I think that is on Shudder as well. Now, a movie called Driveways. Probably never heard of this. I hadn't heard of it before, but I was interested because it had Brian Dennehy, and I have a slight Brian Dennehy connection myself. He passed away last year.
Yep.
And this was, I believe, his final movie. It's about a couple, a woman, Asian woman, and her son that moved next to him because they're taking, after her sister passed away, they're taking over her house. And the boy, who's awkward and doesn't get along with people and what do you call it, sensitive, has a real good bond with the Brian Dennehy character. And it's not an action movie. Not a lot happens in it. It's just about the relationship between this boy and this man. It's a great movie. So I would recommend that. It's called Driveways.
I want to point out too that just so the listeners don't think that Brian Dennehy molested you when you were like a little kid. Your connection is your wife's father was friends with him, like college roommates, right?
Yes, they were college roommates.
Because when you said that I had a connection and you never said what it was, people then are like, did Brian Dennehy molest them?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean for that. I didn't mean to sound like that. No, he was supposed to come to my father-in-law's memorial service, but he couldn't make it. But we talked to him quite a bit on the phone before then, and he reminds me of my father-in-law. Just seeing him in this movie, I see my own father-in-law. It's really weird. All right, a couple more. Tenet. I don't think it's as bad as people say it is. I'm thinking of ending things.
Oh, the Charlie Kaufman
movie, which I liked, like the first 90%, and then the last 10%. I really wish they had done something different. So I would never rewatch it, but absolutely fantastic acting all around in that movie. I'm thinking of ending things.
If I had to give out a couple of, good but not their awards, Freaky with Vince Vaughn, that was made by the guy that did Happy Death Day 1 and 2. It's a body switching horror movie. It was fun. I had a good time with it. It didn't push it over for me though.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, it's fun. Vince Vaughn is super fun in it because he's playing a high school girl. So he really lets go with that. Documentaries, we talked about it a little bit before we recorded. Class Action Park on HBO Max is very interesting. Action Park, the infamous New Jersey Lord of the Flies carnival / amusement park run by fucking drunken teenagers where people were dying left and right. It's a pretty interesting documentary. Let me see what else. I had something else here that I wanted to throw on here. Oh, Becky. Did you see Becky?
No.
Becky is
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
Joel McHale is in it, and Kevin James, the King of Queens, in a role that is not the King of Queens. He plays a a bearded neo-Nazi scumbag.
Oh wow!
Ex-con who I think he escapes from jail in the beginning. Joel McHale and his new girlfriend and his daughter Becky and his new girlfriend's son go to their cabin, and there's a lot of Becky's like 13 or 14. And there's a lot of anger because her mother had died the year prior, and he's getting married to this new woman. So essentially, it's this family drama when they get to the cabin, and then Kevin James and his neo-Nazi scumbag friends show up at the cabin to hide out, and it becomes essentially like a hostage movie, except Becky is not a 13 or 14-year-old girl that you want to fuck with. It would probably be in my top 5 if it was a little more solid than it was, but it's totally enjoyable and I recommend it. And I think that's really everything that I would put out there for that. If I were to put out disappointments, for me personally, the ones that I want to put out as disappointments were the ones that like everybody loved. Like that's what I was saying when I said Underwater. The Invisible Man was not very good.
Oh, I hated that.
People, I'm hearing, our friend So Wizard, I think one of the, when they did their tops, I think it was on one of theirs, I believe. And they're not the only ones. And I'm not, I was just pointing them out. Listen to So Wizard. It's a great show. But like, I listened to that and I'm like, was I watching a different movie? Elizabeth Moss is good. She's a good actress. I liked the conceit of what they did in terms of like, it's a suit. It's a little bit different, it's but like in the end, it did not work for me.
It didn't work for me either.
Yeah. Did not work. I haven't heard
too many people say that, but
I was super disappointed in that movie. And that was the first movie during COVID that me and my wife rented. Like, it was supposed to be, it was in the theaters. COVID started. We were going to go see it. Couldn't go see it because of COVID.
Bloodshot.
Yeah, I didn't do Bloodshot at all. And the other one that I want to say everybody seems to love, and it just did not play for me at all, was The Hunt. The Hunt just,
I liked it.
Yeah, did not work for me at all. I get it. I get what they were doing. Oh, it's the liberals getting back at the kids. Yeah, I get it. It just did not work for me. And then
I didn't care for the message, but I liked the movie.
Yeah, I do like the lead, Betty Gilpin, right? Is that her name?
She was great.
She's great, and she's fucking gorgeous. So, I mean, I have no problem looking at her all day. Oh, and then two more real quick. Tenet, I'll put it on the disappointed because I expected a lot more, but I don't hate it just like you. I think it's confusing. I think that, Christopher Nolan is playing games with the audiences that I don't necessarily agree with, but it's not terrible. It does have a good cast. It has some interesting ideas. It's just not what I was looking for when I saw it. And the other, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Something I didn't like about Tenet. I wish they didn't try to explain the technology. And by that, I mean the metal and the bullets and the way that they jump up to the hand, and they try to explain all that. I'm like, none of that makes any fucking sense. Just tell me that you can do this and then you could do this on the other side. Just tell me that. Don't try to explain the workings of it to me. Tell me it comes from the future and shit. I don't know.
Yeah, I got it
all
on
that
Blu-ray.
out, and I kind of liked the progression of the film. So.
Yeah, no, it's not terrible. It's just, it wasn't, this was the movie that they thought was going to save cinema. And this was the wrong movie to bank that on.
Right.
Imagine if you were just Joe moviegoer going to a theater to see a movie and you see that fucking thing.
Right.
Which is it's almost indecipherable on the first viewing. You can't hear what the characters are saying for half of the fucking movie. And then what the plot is just like, it's fucking gobbledygook. Like you just said, some are moving forward, some are moving backwards. It's, again, I liked it more than a lot of people in terms of, like, I didn't hate it. And the other one that I want to give a big, like, disappointment to was the Train to Busan sequel, Peninsula.
Was that the animated one?
No, the animated one I think was an in-between thing.
Oh, okay.
And then
I saw that one.
Peninsula is supposed to take place like a year after Train to Busan, or 2 years, and Korea is shut down. It was garbage. It was such garbage, and I was so mad at it because it's like Return of the King. It has 5 fucking endings. It's too long. I didn't care about any of the characters, and I would never have been mad at it if it was its own movie, but it was a sequel to a fucking stupendous zombie movie. Mm-hmm. If you've never seen Train to Busan, wherever it's streaming, go right now. If you like zombie movies, don't be afraid of subtitles. Don't be afraid of Korean people. Just watch the fucking movie because it rocks. And then if you see Peninsula right next to it, like Torrent, avoid it.
Just don't bother.
Don't bother. You
probably don't need to bother with the animated prequel either. Just stick with Train to Busan. Enjoy that for what it is.
That's it. All right, so that's it. That's our top 5 for 2020, with a couple of disappointments, a couple of honorable mentions. Hopefully this year we'll be back to going to movies in the movie theaters. Hopefully there will be a little bit more content out there. But Manster, where can everybody find us at Pint of Comics?
They can find us at pintofcomics.com. That's where they can find us. You can subscribe to these podcasts anywhere you get podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon, Apple, all that stuff. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can see some reviews and video stuff. And on Facebook and Twitter, you can find us at Pintocomics. And on Instagram, it's at Pint_O_comics.
Join us next week, first episode of February, Forgotten February, where we have every single week of February. We have the folks from Forgotten Entertainment on. So they'll be guesting. We'll be talking about a whole bunch of different stuff, some movies, some comic books. We're going to have a good time. And we're going to talk about a brand new podcast project that Lloyd and I have coming out in May of this year.
Yeah, wait till you hear that.
Oh, I'm so excited. My nipples are hard. Lloyd, say the word. Say the word. If you want my nipples to stop being hard, what do you say to them?
See ya.
It's over, Johnny. It's over. Nothing is over. Nothing. You just don't turn it off.